This is a special presentation concerning the upcoming 2024 hurricane season. Although the start of the hurricane season is still a few months away, many meteorologists are already seeing signs that this coming hurricane season may be more severe than usual. The purpose of this presentation is not to present a dramatic production to impress anyone, but to give accurate information in a succinct, easy-to-understand format so that people can make educated decisions and plans well in advance of any possible adverse weather conditions. This succinct video will be very beneficial because first, it will only give you as much information about hurricanes as you need to make a rational decision. The information in this video will be very practical and beneficial even if a hurricane does not threaten your area. It will deal with different levels of precautions based on the threat level for your specific situation. One of the biggest mistakes people make when dealing with hurricane preparation is timing. Most assume that it is irrational to take any action until you know for certain that a hurricane will strike your area. However, for some, the dangers they will face may require measures taking several months in advance to complete. One of the most obvious dangers is large trees or branches that can fall within striking distance of a home. Tree removal is an expensive, careful, and time-consuming operation. For some, it is a question of should I or shouldn't I? For others, it is not a question of if, but when. Obviously, this is one of those measures needed at least a couple of months before threatened by a hurricane. Although I cannot furnish you with information about dendrology, which is the study of trees and shrubs, I can give you some information about the chances of hurricane occurrences this coming year. Another danger for some is their proximity to the water. For those who live near a beach, they will have to make plans for evacuation well in advance of any threat from a hurricane. Evacuation not only deals with where to go, but what to take and how to protect and secure your property and pets. Stuff in the basement that can be flooded easily must be elevated and or waterproofed. Cleaning, organizing, and buying waterproof containers or bags is something that would prove beneficial throughout the year, even without the threat of a hurricane. Precious and important pictures or documents should also be placed in watertight containers or bags and organized. Depending on your phone apps, you might be able to copy some of those important documents or pictures on your phone in case anything happens to the originals. It is probably a good idea to make a copy of your prescriptions, medications, and medical records to put on your phone app, even without the threat of a hurricane. If your basement is prone to flooding, whether you live near the water or not, it would be advisable to try to elevate any electrical appliance in your basement, such as a refrigerator, furnace, hot water heater, and so on. These can be propped up permanently on cinder blocks, so you never have to fear any flood situation again. If you have been thinking about buying a generator, it also might be a good time to do so because some types of generators will take at least a month to install, while others might be hard to find when your area is under a hurricane watch. So these are all steps that can be done months ahead of time. The preceding information I am about to give you may help you make these decisions. We must start with the ingredients or factors needed to form a hurricane and see if many of these ingredients are present and how their presence compares to other years. The first ingredient needed for a hurricane to form is warm ocean water. Hurricanes need a minimum water temperature of at least 80 degrees Fahrenheit. The layer of warm water must be sufficiently deep enough, not just a thin layer of warm water on the surface of the ocean. There is an area of the tropical Atlantic where many hurricanes form called the MDR, which stands for Main Development Region. This year, the water temperature of that area is already higher than it has ever been since records were kept. And as the summer approaches, it is expected to get higher. Thus, the first ingredient or factor for hurricane development is not only present, but very strong. So we have this first ingredient against us. The second ingredient for hurricane development is a favorable wind pattern high up in the atmosphere above the tropical Atlantic Ocean. Without getting too technical as promised, there are two main phases in a related phenomenon in the Pacific Ocean known as El Niño and La Niña. When the Pacific El Niño occurs, the tropical Atlantic experiences an unfavorable wind pattern for hurricane development. Not only does it generally retard hurricane formation in the Atlantic, but it generally causes the hurricanes that do form to turn north in the Atlantic Ocean, steering many of them harmlessly out to sea away from the United States mainland. So, El Niño affects hurricane formation and steering. When the Pacific La Niña occurs, the tropical Atlantic experiences a favorable wind pattern for hurricane development. It also affects the steering of those Atlantic hurricanes, generally driving them toward North America instead of going harmlessly out to sea. To give you an idea of why many meteorologists are predicting an active, more threatening hurricane season this year, we must compare it to last year. Although last year the Pacific El Niño was strong, which tends to reduce the number of hurricanes in the Atlantic, we still had an above-average number of hurricanes due to the warm Atlantic Ocean last year. Of course, the wind pattern associated with the El Niño caused most of the Atlantic hurricanes to stay out at sea. This year, the Atlantic Ocean is even warmer than last year. And you guessed it, this year computer models are almost all predicting a strong La Niña, which causes a wind pattern in the Atlantic which is favorable for hurricane formation, as well as more likely to steer hurricanes toward the Caribbean islands and North America. So, the second factor or ingredient for hurricane formation and higher probability of strike is against us. The third factor or ingredient needed for hurricane development is humid air over the MDR, or Main Development Region. This year, some computer models are predicting that the air over the MDR will be more humid than normal. These are not all the factors that come into play which determine the number, intensity, and general track of Atlantic hurricanes, but they are the major factors, and as it stands now, they are all stacking up against us. But remember, it's not just the presence of these three factors. It's their intensity that is really scaring many meteorologists. That is to say, the water temperature in the Atlantic is warmer than any previous year on record. This, in combination with the other two factors, may mean that this hurricane season may be more vicious than any previous season. Also, remember that we have not even mentioned the factors that affect the impact of any landfalling hurricane, such as the water table, the moon phase, the high tide cycle, and others. That will be a whole other video and topic. Should any hurricane threaten our area, I will do my best, Lord permitting, to make a video dealing with that topic. As to why I put out this video at this time, I would like to be given a chance to explain. In just over 3 weeks, that is the middle of April, an official forecast will be published by Colorado State University, which will probably say pretty much what I've been saying unofficially. When that happens, chances are that all tree removal companies will have a good excuse to jack up their prices for tree removal. In addition, there may be many who start calling these companies, making an appointment more difficult. The choice is obviously up to you, but as already stated, most of these measures would be permanently beneficial for you regardless of whether a hurricane strikes or not. Although no one can forecast a hurricane strike or even predict the exact number and strength of hurricanes this coming season, science can positively say chances are much greater this year for a more impactful season. Thank you for listening. I hope this was helpful. Remember, if any storm does threaten our area, I will do my best to try to give you more information. Goodbye for now.